I suppose the question I've got, Alan, if I look at today, um, so we have, if I look around the cities, we are building lots of small box light flats. People are increasingly becoming leaseholders rather than freeholders. We are not really a nation of shopkeepers or innkeepers or smiths anymore, able to be self-governing and self-sufficient in some way and live in that Adam Smith world um, of trade in your own interest, but it benefits everyone else. And instead, we are employed by increasingly faceless, unrooted corporations, or a big public sector which is covering a big geographical region rather than a localized one. And I suppose the question I'm asking then is, and before I do ask that question, again, that Venetian traveller I was referring to earlier, he remarked in the passage in your book that there's no small innkeeper, however poor and humble he may be, who does not serve his table with silver dishes and drinking cups. And then again, talking about wearing very fine clothes. And if I look around at all of those things you just talked about, plus, our cheap IKEA furniture and crockery that we adorn our houses in, and we wear athleisure rather than small clothes, I ask, have we come up with a self-fulfilling prophecy and we're almost becoming like a peasantry, a landless peasantry with none of those accoutrements? I know I'm asking you to do some modern day social commentary here rather than your field, but what do you make of that?
Well, the first thing that people watching this need to know is what we mean by peasantry. Most people, when you say peasant, they think, and I thought, just a country dweller, someone who works on the land, doesn't own it, probably working for someone else. So it's a farm labourer, really, or a farm small holder. I was using peasant in a technical sense, taken from anthropology, which means that a peasant is someone who owns or rents or has land, but they work it with their family. So it's sometimes called the family mode of production or domestic mode of production. So it means that you use family labour, so your children work for you, they inherit the land, brothers work together, and so on. So it is the overlap of the social structure, peasant of the family system, with the economy. So the unit of production, in Marx's sense, is the family, not the individual. And capitalism comes about when you break this, and the unit becomes the individual who earns for themselves, who owns and keeps the rewards of their labour and so on, and doesn't have to, for example, pay for their parents' old age if they don't want to. There's no law they have to. They don't have to bring up their brother's children if their brother is poor or anything. There is extreme individualism in every field. So that's what I mean by peasant. And not peasant, in capitals. In that sense, these people who I see sprouting all over Cambridge, we have, I think, a big Dutch firm called Marley, which is creating these little boxes all over Cambridgeshire. And as you say, they're filled with people fairly identical furniture and wearing fairly similar clothes and not having gardens and not having shops, and the pubs are disappearing and all the rest of it. They're not, I think it's probably wrong to think that they're going back to peasantry in any sense. But if you said they are landless workers who are living with pretty basic conditions around them, and we've moved from householding civilization to this, that's probably true, and it's part of this hollowing out of the social structure. So the middle class and the lower middle class and the upper middle class are disappearing, and you're getting a two-structure society here in America, or Piketty's work, for example, whereby you have very small number of uber rich, and everyone else is a drone. It's more like it's a kind of beehive. There are one or two queen bees and others, and then the rest of us are drones. That is certainly something we're moving towards. On the other hand, one shouldn't overdo it, because although people living in such box-like environs, they're pretty rich, and they'll probably have 2 cars, or certainly have 1 car. They'll have a lot of consumer durables, which are quite valuable.
Mm.
Their income, since I was a child, their income has gone up at least 4-fold from the 1950s. So compared to other parts of the world, the per capita income is still very high, but it's going into rather kind of what we now consider less stylish, I would say, at least clothing and food and so on. So there has been a big change.